Hello and welcome to Rando Rob. Each week on Rando Rob, I'll be showing and discussing one item from my large collection of collections. New shows appear every Monday, and throughout the week, I'll be adding older episodes of Rando Rob that were previously only available to my Patreon subscribers. You can watch episodes of Rando Rob on YouTube at youtube.com/Rob O'Hara. Just look for the Rando Rob playlist. Audio versions of the show are available on my website at podcast.robohara.com or through iTunes. Just search for Rando Rob. Thanks for watching or listening, and I hope you enjoy this vintage episode of Rando Rob. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Rando Rob. It is Sunday evening. It's a little after 6 o'clock my time, local time, central time zone, if you will. And I've been doing some more cleaning and rearranging of the home office. As you can see behind me, I've added some new shelves, and I've started putting some stuff on those shelves. I do plan to extend those probably in both directions. But right now, of course, my head's right in the way unless I duck down. But you can see on the bottom side there, I believe that's my... either that's a Commodore C64C or a 128. That's a C64C. And then there's my Amiga 1200. There is that's my the C64. That is a Commodore 16 next to it in the back corner. And then above that, there's some boxes. There's those that middle shelf. Those are both boxes for 1541 disk drives, and they have brand new 1541 disk drives in them. And a box for the 1581 disk drive. And so, as I get some other stuff, I will continue to fill those shelves. It's been a fun little project. And one of the things I ran across was, while I was cleaning, was a stack of CDRs. And so, obviously, you can see the picture there of a blank CDR. And you can tell it's been watermarked because I just grabbed the first one that I found. On Google image search. Man, do I hate that. Like they've copyrighted, they've marked it, and you can't use a picture of a blank CD. But then I'm too lazy to take a picture of a blank CD, so I guess that's how they win. But anyway, I found a stack of CDRs, and I thought they were pretty interesting, and so I thought I would share those with you. And If I block, there's not a good way to do this. Actually, I could do it like this. Oh, I just ruined the whole thing. No, I didn't. So, I think if I do it like this, you can see that this looks just like a normal a CDR that you would buy at the store. Remember when we used to buy these one at a time? It came in little thin plastic cases like this, and that's what this is. I bought this as a 10-pack one time at a thrift store, but that's not why it was interesting, nor is that why I purchased it. I purchased it because they are Napster brand CDRs, which I found incredibly interesting. And so I had to do a little bit of research on these because that seems like such a strange thing for someone to market. And so if you were there or you weren't there, Napster was an amazing time, and I'll be talking about Napster here in just a minute. I'm trying to open this so you can see that they also are branded, the actual discs are branded Napster, and then there's just a little thing about how to burn CDs or care for CDs, like don't touch them, don't put them in the heat, and always keep them in the case, which somebody did. And these are really branded Napster. Not only do they say Napster on the top and have the Napster logo, but then at the bottom it also says Napster.com, if you can see that, make that out at the very bottom. Maybe not in this light. Maybe not. I don't know. But says Napster all over them. So first, I guess I'll talk. And I don't know. I didn't do any research, so I can't tell you all that ins and outs. I know that the guy who created Napster wanted a way to share music or whatever, but there were I don't know how much peer-to-peer there was before that. And like a lot of things, it's hard to point, to an exact, like, hey, this is exactly when this technology started. But Napster had several things going for it, and the two biggest things was, number one, it had a built-in search engine. So if you think about something like the Pirate Bay or other popular torrent sites today, they have a search engine. But in the really early days, and things like LimeWire, and I'm trying to think of ones that were even before that, it wasn't very organized. BearShare was one. I mean, these are all like super old technology, But the thing about Napster was that it had a built-in search engine. And so if you were looking for, let me even go back before that, since we're talking about this. I believe MP3s came out in, were first invented, I think. Man, this is just going to be full of facts that I didn't fact check, so let's look this up. I think it's 93. But let's take a look here. Wikipedia, yada, yada, yada. It was commonly known as this. Yeah, initial release is 1993. I did not discover MP3s until 1994, and that's when I first got on IRC, which is Interrelay Chat, which was internet-based chat. And so I remember getting on IRC and seeing people trading these MP3s. Now, when I first got on the internet, 94 and 95 and even 96 before I moved, it was all through dial-up. So I would use my normal modem. I think back then it was 9600 baud. I didn't have 14.4 at that time. So I was using a 9600 baud, and I would dial up, and people were trading these MP3s. And they were just trading one song at a time. So you would download a song. And I remember seeing the first MP3s and thinking, I don't get it. I don't get this use of technology. Why would I want to download one song? A song is free on the radio. Why would I want to waste this space and play it on my computer? In 94, when I started at Best Buy, I think I had a 420 meg hard drive. So if you think 420 megs, and then you got an MP3, a song, and it was 3 megs, like, you weren't going to have a zillion songs, that would fill up your entire hard drive. That would be it. So, I just didn't get it, Why would I want to, and of course it took a long time too, at 9600 baud to download this 3 meg file, it took a while, and I was like, why would you spend all this time to hear a song that I already have on CD or could hear on the radio? Obviously, this was before Napster. So, you were limited to what, on IRC, you were limited to what people were offering. You couldn't request to be like, oh, I want to get, this whole Metallica album. Well, somebody wasn't offering the whole Metallica album. They were offering one song from a Metallica album. Or even if they were offering a Metallica album, then they wouldn't offer the next Metallica album. You know what I mean? And so through the late 90s, that's what it was like. It was trading the songs mostly, not albums, mostly just songs, and it was, the way I explained it was kind of like visiting garage sales. In other words, you went to the garage sale, you saw what was available, and then you decided if you wanted those things or not, right? So, in a garage sale, you would go walk up and there might be a size 10 men's Nikes that were purple. If you want purple Nikes in a size 10, you're in luck. But if you were like, oh, I'd rather have the blue ones, well, it's a garage sale. They don't have blue ones. You can't go in the back and see. It was just, were you interested in what was being offered? So fast forward a couple of years, and I just looked it up. And in 1999 is when Napster came out. And so Napster had two huge things going for it. Number one was the search engine. So all of a sudden you could go into Napster and type Metallica, and I don't know why I got Metallica on the brain tonight, but or type whatever, any band, and it would show everybody that was connected to Napster and show all their music libraries. And all of a sudden you could, it wasn't like a garage sale. It was like an antique mall maybe, where what everybody in the place had. But the second thing was, it was adopted by college students. And college students at that time weren't, for the most part, using dial-up. They were starting to get LAN connections in their dorm rooms. And so it wasn't trading single music files at a time with, another person that was also dial-up. It was college kids who had, of course, hard drives had grown in size by then, who had these hard drives that were filling them up with MP3s, Now, I would say the vast majority, before Napster, the vast majority of my MP3s, I ripped from my own CDs. I've always had a large music collection. I had a large collection of cassette tapes when I was a kid. I had I had a collection of records, but I had a lot of cassette tapes, hundreds. And when I finally boxed up all my CDs, I had over 1,000 CDs. So I had a lot of CDs. So you would put the CD in your computer and you would use different software. I used one, I think, called Audio Grabber. There were some different ones. But you could rip those into MP3 files, and then you had stuff that you could trade, to other people. Now, you didn't have to. You could just download stuff and then quit sharing it or whatever, which is mostly what I did. But when Napster caught on with college kids, now you had all these kids across the country that were leaving their computers on 24/7 and had these big music collections. And now all of a sudden, it wasn't like I could get, this one Metallica song. I could get a whole Metallica album. And then the next step for me was high-speed internet. And high-speed internet was... I was pretty early on. I was on a waiting list to get it in my state. And I got a cable modem in August of 1999. It was such a big deal to me that I took off work. I got the very first installation slot that they had, and I took off work so I could be at home to get a cable modem. So it was August 1st, 1999. And once that happened, you had this progression, right? At first it was, hey, let me get a Metallica song. And then once Napster kind of came along, you could start getting entire albums. And once the cable modem came, you could get multiple albums or every album from an artist, And so that's the progression that I remember was, in the early days, like downloading, a Billy Joel song. And then once, Napster came out, then you would get the Billy Joel album, whatever album that had that song on. And then once cable modems really took off, you would just go click Billy Joel discography, and you would get 10 Billy Joel or 15 or however many Billy Joel albums there were. It was piracy, like piracy had always been. There's always been piracy. But there were a couple of differences. The first difference is people had a hard time figuring out why it was considered piracy or why was it considered illegal. Why can you take, a Billy Joel song and play it on the radio and you hear it for free and that's fine? You could take that song off the radio and record it onto a cassette tape, which we all did when we were kids. I mean, people my age, and listen to it, and that was okay. So why could you not give that to someone else? So there was a lot of gray area, being discussed at that time. There was a lot of ambiguity about what was legal and what wasn't legal. Of course, it was not legal, to just download every Billy Joel album or whoever. So I'd have to pull this page back up. I want to see if this talks about Napster. But the other thing that made this different is that it was so easy to use that you could just double click, like you didn't have to understand BitTorrent. You didn't have to understand peer-to-peer. You didn't have to understand any of this. You installed Napster, and once you opened it, you could just, search for the songs you wanted, and then away it went, And so I'm trying to find here exactly when Napster got shut down the first time. Everybody knows of the, well, maybe this is why I have, Metallica on the brain, is because everybody knows that Lars Ulrich, the drummer of Metallica, and I'm searching for Lars here, went in front of a camera with a printed out list of everybody from Napster that was sharing Metallica songs. It was like, these people, are stealing our music. They call themselves our fans, but they're thieves, and this big rant. And of course, it was a big famous thing at the time. And, a lot of it was, for me, like I had bought Metallica albums on vinyl, Like I had one or two Metallica records. And then I had bought every Metallica album, like up through, like from Kill 'Em All the way to the Black Album. So 5 albums, 6 albums on cassette. And then I had bought them, excuse me, all a third time on CD. So downloading them on Napster, it didn't seem like it was stealing to me because I'd already paid for them, some of them 3 times, So it really felt like a kind of crappy thing to do, to call out your own fans. I mean, in retrospect, a lot of people thought that Lars was right. It's just he was the guy that took the hit for it, because normally what you do now is like you would see a lawsuit against Napster, or you would see a lawsuit against cable ISPs for not stopping piracy, but you wouldn't necessarily see suing the end user. And we had a lot of this. We still get this with the Pirate Bay when, someone's grandma downloads a movie and then they try to sue someone's grandma for $100 million. It's not good PR. So they don't typically do that as much as they used to, So let's see, I'm looking here that there was a lawsuit in 1999, which was after it started. That was from the RAAA. But it said on July 11, 2001, Napster shut down its entire network in order to comply with the injunction. There was a settlement in September of 2001 where Napster agreed to repay music creators and copyright owners, and they repaid $26 million. And so that was, so it was 2 years basically. It seemed like it was much longer of that, But eventually Napster filed bankruptcy, and I'm looking to see if this says 2002, September. They had filed for bankruptcy, and they were forced to liquidate everything. And so Napster, their branded logos were acquired at bankruptcy by Roxio. And so Roxio already had a peer-to-peer music streaming service called Press Play, and they rebranded it as Napster 2.0. And that lasted for a while until September 2008, 2008, when Napster was purchased by Best Buy for $121 million. So it's funny that Napster was this free thing that was set up by, a college kid. I was looking to find his name. I thought it was Sean somebody, but I don't That name's not jumping out at me here. Yeah, Sean Fanning and Sean Parker were the developers. And then it says here in Wikipedia, initial release June 1st, 1999, and final release September 3rd, 2002. Man, does it seem like it was longer than that, because that was like, and my dad used this phrase one time, the genie was let out of the bottle. All of a sudden, any song you could think of. I had an album when I was a kid called Goofy Gold. And Goofy Gold was one of those K-Tel comedy albums that had all kinds of songs. It had Purple People Eater and Monster Mash and Alley Oop and all those songs. And I couldn't find it for sale. I couldn't find the record. And it wasn't ever released on CD. And I went on Napster and I tracked down every song from that album. I found a picture of the back of the album and I found them all, found them, and I made my own copy of Goofy Gold with all the songs that were originally on that. So you could find anything at the time on Napster. So it becomes this thing where, I mean, there are events that are so egregious is not the right word, but so such a change to the way people think that you have to wait it out. Like, you might have to wait a generation. And I feel like that's kind of what happened with MP3s. It was very difficult, for basically 3 years, 2 to 3 years. Any music that you wanted, you could find for free on the internet, and you could do it instantly. You opened up Napster and you downloaded it, and that was that, right? So then to turn around and go, hey, everybody, Napster is not legal anymore. We want, Apple wants you to pay for MP3s. And then you would go, why would I pay for MP3s? I was just getting every MP3 for free. And when Napster was around, I, started downloading like any artist I could think of. I mean, Culture Club. And I would go, yep, I need every Culture Club album, and I would go get them all, And I mean, bands that literally one-hit wonders, not that Culture Club is a one-hit wonder, but even one-hit wonders, I would go download their albums just because it was all there. And, before, I had, eventually I had 1,000 CDs, but not at this time. I probably didn't have 1,000. I had a few hundred CDs. And through Napster, I had a few hundred CDs, and then all of a sudden, or albums, and then I had a few thousand albums, and then more and more, and you were just counting MP3s, and then you had, 1,000, and then you had 10,000, and then you had, I don't know if I had 100,000 MP3s or not. I could tell you. I still have most of those old files. But what's funny is, like a lot of different things, and especially piracy, is that it feels like it's a blessing, but it turns out to be a curse. Which, you would think, like, why is it a curse to get every MP3, every song you ever wanted for free? But what happens is, it's so much all at once that you don't listen to them and you don't appreciate them. I mentioned this before, I have a record player right here, and I don't have that many records, but every now and then I'll pull a record out and put it on to play, and it gets my undivided attention. I sit over here in my little chair, and I lean back, and I listen to the album, and you just sit there and listen to 5 songs, and then you hear the sound of the needle hitting the inner ring of the record, and you got to get up and flip it over, and you listen to 5 more songs. But while that's playing, it's like it has your attention. And MP3s were so expendable that they weren't worth anything. If you're into emulation, you know what I'm talking about. How many times, like when I was a kid and we had an Atari 2600, we might get a terrible game for Christmas, but we played the heck out of it because you had the game and you only had one new game and you would play it and play it and play it, But when you get into emulation and you click one button and you get every Atari game in a zip file, you don't give those the same weight. You know what I mean? They don't have the same importance because you get them all at once and they were free. Yeah, this is going well into the 100,000 numbers of MP3s. But I got all this music and I loved music and I didn't listen to it. You know, it just wasn't the same. What I listened to was the CDs that I had bought, the records that I had bought, you know. And so I've thought about deleting the whole thing and then just going back to, you know, only the things I've purchased and stuff, just because it just means something more to you, you know, and music is, at least as a kid and a teen and young adult, was such a big part of my life that I kind of feel like I ruined it by downloading so much stuff that I never got around to listening to, you know. And then what's funny is right now, a lot of times when I'm working, I don't listen to music. I mean, it's music, but it's not CDs and stuff like that. It's Commodore 64 tunes. So live and learn. But anyway, so I believe when Napster 2.0, when it tried to go legit as a pay service, a streaming type service, and Roxio took it over and merged it, and it might have even been with Best Buy. I was looking for a copyright date on this CD so that I could find exactly when it was, if it was part of the Roxio merger or part of the Best Buy merger, but I don't see a copyright date on this, so I don't really know. Now, I mean, they do say 700 meg, 80 min, which was a later, you know, the earlier CDs were all 650 meg and 74 minutes. Yeah, this booklet, oh, this is always useful, is the booklet opens up in the middle so you can write down whatever tracks that you burned on it. But no, I don't see any copyright date on this at all. There probably was some on the original package. So I bought these CDs, so I'm showing you this CD, but I bought a 10-pack of these CDs, and I got them at a thrift store. And I was doing something, and there was one point, I think it was for work, and I had an emergency thing, and I needed to burn a CD, and so I used one. So I've used one, and I have 9 that are unused. I don't need 9 of them. I've thought about putting them up for sale on eBay or something, just because they're such a weird rarity, you know, that I can't imagine that they sold Napster branded CDs very long. But I never have. It's like a lot of other things. I think about doing that, but then they sit on the shelf. Maybe in the next year, I'll do a podcast or a stream or something, and I'll use them as giveaways. Maybe we'll do that. That might be fun. So, but anyway, as I was cleaning, I ran across these, and I thought you guys might get a kick out of that. So that is my item to share for you this week. Excuse me. So, I hope that everybody had a Merry Christmas. I hope that you got to spend, whether it was physically or virtually, you got to spend time or talk to at least your loved ones. I know New Year's is coming up. We're having to be the bad guy. My kids want to have New Year's parties, and I'm like, man, you can't do it right now. Just hang in there just a little while longer. I know that the vaccines are on the horizon. That stuff is coming. It's hard to tell kids, you know, next year won't be like this year, but we just gotta, you know, make plans to be safe and do safe activities right now. So it's hard. I know it's hard for you guys. It's been hard for me. It's been hard for my family, and but you know, fortunately, everybody has remained healthy, and I see these updates on Facebook and Twitter all the time. You know, my thoughts right now are with Mark Alley. His dad had a some sort of event, a breathing related event, and it's not, I believe it wasn't related to COVID, but his dad has been in the hospital, and he's had some sad updates lately. So you know, and I've had coworkers who've got COVID. I had an old friend of mine Actually, the two, Jeff and Andy, the two people I mentioned the most on all my podcasts, have both had COVID. So, you know, it's just terrible. Unfortunately, nobody close to me has died from COVID, but I know most of them that have had it said they wish they hadn't got it, that it wasn't fun. So, you know, we're just doing our best, and I know you're doing your best, and that's all we can do. So let's all do our best together. And, you know, what is safe is watching doofy videos that I make and watching streams and playing games and all that. So all I can say is that I have had a blast podcasting and streaming and doing all these things that I started doing earlier this year, and I'm looking forward to continuing that in 2021. I've been having a blast. I hope you guys have enjoyed everything, and I just can't thank you enough for your support on Patreon, and you know, the messages and the comments and the feedback, the voicemails, all that stuff is what keeps me going and makes me want to keep doing the show. So thank you guys for your support. I hope that you have a very safe New Year's Eve, and I will see you and talk to you all again in 2021. Thank you, guys.